So, good afternoon. Are you getting my audio? Yeah, please let me know if you are able to hear me. Audio is clear. Yeah, good evening, Shankara. Yeah, Omkarnath ji, good evening. So, we will begin with the class. Yeah, good evening, Raza. Samid. Yeah, start करते हैं. So, as we were continuing with the crash course on environment and ecology for the prelims exam. So this is Muhammad Rizwan Ahmad, as you are aware of. Okay, for those who are new, you can follow me on an Academy app with this profile ID, that is Rizwan space MD. Okay, so this is my profile ID. You can follow, and this is part 7 we are doing. For those who are new, they can go back to the 6 previous classes and just go through the important segments of these classes for that may be useful for them for the prelims examination. Yeah, yes, good evening, Sadanand. Okay, so in all these classes we have done about three things. Now we have done about ecosystem, we have completed the important aspects of biodiversity, and last class we were discussing about the forest, right? So we have discussed what is the basic definition of the forest, and what are the global standards of forest, and what we follow in India, what are different legislations that are important for forest conservation or related to forest in the country, and we have also discussed what was the reason for decline of the forest before and after independence, and how the forest cover in India has increased after 1976. And the important thing was National Commission on Agriculture. Now this is very important because National Commission on Agriculture recommended the social forestry in the country, which has immensely contributed for increasing the forest cover, right? So as those who are new, for them, as you are aware that I'm teaching live classes, that is on Plus platform. You can subscribe to my courses, and the new course what I'm going to launch from the 1st of May will be the crash course on Indian geography. Okay, Indian geography. This will cover map pointing for Indian geography, all physical, economic, and social geography of India in 20 classes, each of 2 hours, starting from 1st of May. Okay, so just keep in this also in your mind for those who are, this course is important for those who are going to attempt the prelims examination. Okay, so I'm faculty for civil services, and I have been teaching for civil services last 14 years. Okay, so these are all the classes, YouTube classes are related to a free course for the aspirants who can have an access to these classes, and which will be helping them for their preparation. Right. Now, what we are going to discuss in today's session. See, we have understood and tried to understand what is the state of forest in India, how it has declined, how it has increased, or after 1980 there was increase in forest. So 1970s the forest cover in India was 17%, and according to the recent report the forest cover in India is how much? 24%. Okay, so this is the change we are experiencing from 1980 to 2018, from 17% to 24%. Okay. Now, in today's session, we are going to discuss some of the most important things, okay, that are related to your current topics also, and some of you have pointed out at these segments in the last class. आप लोगों ने कहा है, काफी लोगों ने, that we have to do some details in detail about this particular topics. So we will discuss here what is camp, right? So three or four topics I have selected. Okay, let us see how we will be able to complete them. If you are not completing, we will carry forward this topic in the next class also, but at most I'll try to complete most of them, right? So one is campa. Then we will discuss about national forest policy. ये foundation है forest policy का, national forest policy 1988. And we have a new forest policy coming in. That is, this is a draft now. So draft, because the provision of these policies is going to impact the forest in the coming decades. Okay, so एक 1988 का policy था, and after that we are having the latest one, that is national forest policy of 2018, right? And we will see what are the recent controversies related to the forest right act 2006. Okay, so these are the topics to be covered. Yeah, good evening to all those who are now logged in. So this session is really very important from the current perspective, and also some basic understanding what you need for answering the questions related to forest. This will also form a basis for writing the answers in your mains for the forest ecosystem. Now, so I hope that you are able to connect with the previous class, those who have attended the previous class, and the today's class. Now, first understand what is the categories of the forest in India. What is the classification of the forest based on the canopy density? Categorization of the forest based on the canopy density. Okay. So the government of India, now who is classifying this? So you have Forest Survey of India. Forest Survey of India. This is going to classify this forest in the country, and this classification has been in use from 2001. Okay, 2001. See, the forest assessment, if you say forest assessment, this started in India in 1987. Okay, the first forest assessment was done in 1987, and this is published as State of Forest Report. ठीक है, remember this. First forest assessment means stock taking, you say, understand how much forest cover we have in the country, what are the different types of forest in the country. Okay, so this was done by this Forest Survey of India. Who is doing the forest assessment? It is done by Forest Survey of India, and it started in 1987, or this is done every 2 years. So biennial exercise है, every 2 years this is done, and it is published as state of forest report. Okay, तो इसका latest जो था, that is state of forest report 2017, which was published in Jan 2018. मतलब ये year is 2017. So assessment done in 2017. Now the new assessment will be by December 2019, and you may get the report by the end of this year. So whatever latest data we have related to forest in India is about the state of forest report 2017. Okay, that is also written as 2018 report, लेकिन assessment year इसका 2017 है, report 18 है, assessment year 2017. ठीक है. Yeah, good evening, those again some are logging in now. तो हर 2 साल में we will get an idea of what is happening to the forest in the country. जैसे 2015 report था, and then came 2017. So 15 report said that the total forest cover, yeah, total forest cover in the country is 23%, and 17 report said that total forest cover in the country is 24 point something. Okay, so 24%. तो अगर आपको ये पूछा जाए what is the change we have experienced in the forest in last 3 years or last two reports, okay, there is a change of what, 1%, 1% का change हुआ है from 2015 to 2017. There is 1% increase in 1% increase in the total forest cover. Right. So we will do that. How much, what states are doing better, what states are experiencing decline. Okay, so that is a different aspects of different dimensions of this forest report. Okay. So just giving a basic understanding that who is going to make the assessment of this forest in India. This is by the forest survey, and जो भी forest assessed area होगा, that will be known as RFA, recorded forest area. That is becoming a part of this report. This is official now. This will be considered as a recorded forest area. I told you a definition of forest what the government of India has adopted is uh, minimum mapping unit है 1 hectare. Okay, how to measure the forest? 1 hectare. Any 1 hectare of land, any 1 hectare of land which has the canopy density more than 10% and irrespective of origin will be considered as a forest. Okay, यानी you have 1 hectare of land, उसमें अगर canopy density 10% है, 10% से ज़्यादा है, means the area covered by the trees is more than 10%. Okay, whether it is planted, afforested, reforested, anything. Okay, anything, it is not essentially what, natural only. So all the type, okay, all the type, this type of uh, forest will be now, this will be considered as a forest. Okay, so remember that in India the government is not differentiating between the forest that is natural and the forest that is by the way of human activity. मतलब अगर कोई plantation कर रहा है, and that is also considered as the forest. Okay, somebody is going for some commercial plantation, that also will be considered as a forest. Okay, but the only condition is the density should be more than 10%. Now, forest area और forest cover में differentiate करने से अच्छा you can say that forest cover and tree cover. Tree और forest में difference होगा, tree cover और forest cover में difference होगा. If you have scattered vegetation जो 10% में नहीं आएगा, which is not going to uh, be like greater than 10%, you have single trees, individual trees that are located from one place to other place. Okay, so in such cases you say it is a tree cover. इसको मिलाकर we constitute nearly 2%. ये 24% में 2% क्या है, tree cover है, and 22% is the forest cover which has more than this 10%. ठीक है, इस तरह से. Now So क्या है classification क्या है? We classify the forest into four types now. One is very dense forest based on canopy density. This classification is based on canopy density. So the first is very dense forest, second is moderately dense forest, then open forest, and then you have scrub forest. So what is very dense? How much is the very dense or criteria? If the canopy density is more than 70, 70 से 100% तक अगर canopy density होगा, means the density of the trees, foliage, branches, okay, this is between 70 to 100%. This type of forest will be treated as very dense, very dense. दूसरा moderately dense. See, these things are important because previously also we had a question in UPSC prelims related to these ratios or these percentages. तो moderately dense forest क्या है? 40% to 70% of the canopy density between these two. If it is known as moderately dense. और open forest क्या होगा? 10% to 40%, 10 to 40%, this is now known as open forest. And last is, if the canopy density is less than 10, this will be known as scrub vegetation, scrub vegetation, or it doesn't really come under the category of any forest. These are the scattered trees, it will get added to the tree cover, right? Now let us begin with the new issue. So we have discussed that the forest conservation in India has been taken up by different laws. So yeah, obviously अगर इसमें अगर we say that 70% से ऊपर है, तो this will be evergreen or semi evergreen forest only. So you cannot have this canopy density in deciduous, deciduous में नहीं होगा. Like if you see western ghats या northeastern states, this will have the very dense forest. तो इसलिए the proportion of very dense forest in the country is very less. Okay, it is only restricted to few pockets. Yes, are you getting, Siddharth? So it is not found everywhere. Now, so we will discuss the first one, that is Campa. Now, what is Campa? And see, we have classification of the forest, we have laws for forest, and we have Forest Protection Act of 1980. Forest Protection Act of 1980. Now, what it says, that it has a provision. It has a provision that forest can be used. Forest can be used for the non-forest activities. ठीक है? So, what is? Try to understand this topic very carefully because इसका आपको prelims or mains in both these exams it may be useful for you. Now, first let us see what is CAMPA. CAMPA stands for Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority. Okay, Compensatory Afforestation Management Planning Authority. This is known as CAMPA. Now, this was a temporary mechanism that was set up by Supreme Court in the Supreme Court judgment of 2002. Okay, so Supreme Court in 2002 gave a judgment to set up this compensatory afforestation fund management and planning authority. So it is fund management. Okay, fund management. Fund matlab it is related something to finance. Okay, it is related to some money. Okay, in our layman's language we can understand it as like it is related to some financing, some money. Now let us next understand what is a compensatory afforestation. Compensatory afforestation. Now what is afforestation? Afforestation is nothing but we plant the trees. This will be considered as afforestation. But compensatory means it is the plantation of the trees that is done in order to compensate the degradation which is happening at some other place. Yes, are you able to understand? तो अगर कहाँ पर deforestation हो रहा है, at some place if there is a deforestation, to compensate this deforestation we are going to plant the trees, that is known as compensatory afforestation. Okay, so here you can see the compensatory afforestation means afforestation done in lieu of diversion of the forest land for the non forest use. मतलब अगर कोई original forest land is diverted, it is deforested, okay, deforested, उसको compensate करने के लिए जो भी plantation होगा, that is now referred as, okay, that is known as a compensatory afforestation. Yes, so we can say that uh, in order to balance or keep the forest cover intact, suppose you are using 2 acres of forest for mining, so 2 acres of deforestation हुआ है, so what you will do, you will 2 acres at other place you will be keeping into, or you will regenerate the forest. Okay, so that type, this activity now is known as compensatory afforestation, right? Are you clear with the concept now? Yes, all of you, are you following the concept? इसमें क्या होगा? What is compensatory afforestation? Right, now what is the foundation of this campa? इसका premises क्या है? What is the basis or ideology, philosophy of campa? The campa believes or compensatory afforestation is based on trade-off. Trade-off मतलब क्या है? It is based on the concern that the forest may get sacrificed for the development. Okay, why we need this compensation? Because we believe that if any kind of developmental activity is taken up, the developmental activity will encroach upon the forest, will dominate the forest. समझ में आ रहा है? So the belief is that environmental concerns will be sidelined. Okay, so here you can see the environmental concerns will be sacrificed or sidelined for the purpose of development. So we need some compensatory mechanism for this. Okay, ठीक है, and Campa believes that the forest can be replaced easily. समझ में आ रहा है? The forest, the another belief is, though it may be wrong, okay, जो what is this concept based upon what government is thinking is this, okay, from the environmentalist perspective I may say that this may be wrong because forest cannot be replaced easily, right? You also may be feeling after being a student of ecology and environment, आपको ये पता होना चाहिए that the forest is a product of what ecological succession. We cannot go back and have that million years of ecological succession which has resulted in the forest, but the campus still believes, अगर आपको prelims में question आ रहा है, so you should be writing the campa believes that the forest can be replaced easily. ठीक है, so let us see that अगर ये forest है, right, and some activities taken up here in this forest and this is degraded, so this is like 4 acres of degradation. So the belief is that these 4 acres can be, this forest of 4 acres can be somewhere some other place or at this place itself after the activity is done, this is also going to get regenerated, right? So if you take up such activities in the forest and this is causing, let us say, deforestation, and it may cause what Parvinder Singh is asking is जैसे राइट्स ऑफ द पीपल का क्या होगा अगर डिफॉरेस्टेशन हुआ है, तो ट्राइबल्स विल बी आस्क्ड टू मूव, ओके, सो वी कैन यूज दिस फंड्स, फाइनेंस फॉर rehabilitation of such tribal populations also, right? But main concern here is about the forest. Now, so in this what you have financial mechanism hai, what it is, compensatory afforestation fund. Okay, so what is this act? This is the legislation now, compensatory afforestation fund act it is, or campa act, this will be now known as Campa Act. Okay, Campa Act. The act seeks to govern how forest will be raised, cut and resurrected across the India. मतलब इसका simple है कि how the forest can be regenerated. Okay, regenerated even if we lose the forest due to developmental activities. Okay, this is the objective. So why there was a need? Going to the background, let us look into the background of this act or the bill. Now 2000 last year the government has notified this. Okay, इसमें देखिए what was the need for this act. This is important. The first point is, yeah, that is what is Parvinder ji, आप जो बोल रहे हैं that is correct. Okay, that is what the environmentalists also are believing, ecologists are also believing. See, the forest degradation is not only about the cutting down of the trees, it is about destruction of the habitat, है ना, destruction of the habitat. All those species which were dependent on these trees, they will lose their home. There will be impact on biodiversity, there will be impact on ecosystem services, there will be impact on homeostatic mechanism. ये सब इफेक्ट होगा. इट इज नॉट सिंपल, इट शुड नॉट बी ट्रीटेड वेरी सिंपल कि भाई यहाँ से फॉरेस्ट कट कर दिया और दूसरी तरफ रीजनरेट कर दिया. अगर इतना आसान होता, देन व्हाई इज दैट वी आर experiencing extinction of thousands of species across the globe, right? So that obviously is a concern. So, but what is the need for this act? See here, it goes back to the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. Okay, 1980 जो act है governs the diversion of use of forest land for the non-forest purpose such as infrastructure and industries. मतलब क्या है? According to the Forest Conservation Act of 1980, remember this, very important, that the forest land can be diverted for the non-forest purpose. Okay, right. Conservation Act hai, but there is a provision. There is a provision that we can use the forest land for the non-forest purpose, such as industries and infrastructure development. Okay. Now, what it says, the company diverting the forest land must provide alternative land for taking up compensatory afforestation. Okay, मान लो a company X, okay, has entered into the forest and deforested 10 acres of land, 10 acres of so what this law says, that this company should provide the 10 acres at some other place so that the forest can be regenerated there. मतलब यहाँ से डिफॉरेस्टेशन कर दो और 10 acre land you provide where you can regenerate or compensate this forest, right? So for this, now when you are compensating, अब इसके लिए पैसा लगेगा, ठीक है, you need money for this. Yeah, it is going, you need money for this. Okay, 10 acre land है, 10 acre पे forest regenerate करना है, you need a finance. So what it says, for the afforestation purpose, for the afforestation purpose, the company should pay for planting new trees in an alternative land provided to the state. The loss of forest ecosystem must be compensated by this payment. Okay, right. So let us say I am a company, I am going into the forest, cutting down the trees. So what I will do, I will pay some amount, I will give the land. Okay, and pay this amount to the state government. Okay, and the state government has to see that the forest is recovered in the similar manner. Okay, similar manner at that place. ठीक है, अब इसके अंदर काफी प्रॉब्लम्स है, व्हाट यू आर फीलिंग, जैसे वायलेटिंग लिबरल प्रिंसिपल, डीपीएसपी, ये सब है, बट दिस इज नॉट कंसिडरिंग ऑल दीज थिंग्स. ओके, व्हाई? Because it considers that development is also one of the primary necessity of the nation building. Okay, so in that way it was done. So in 2002, Supreme Court of India observed that the funds collected for afforestation were underutilized by the states, and it ordered for the central pooling of the funds under ad hoc compensatory afforestation fund. ठीक है, तो ये this is the birth of C campa or CAF. Okay, now see 1980 का act है which says that every company which is going to do this deforestation should pay to the state, should pay to the state for compensation, or as a compensation, as a penalty, जो भी है. So what happened, the state started getting these funds from such companies, लेकिन these funds were never utilized, or they were misutilized, you can say. Okay, so there was misutilization of the funds, or there were underutilization of the funds. So जो supreme court का observation है that all these underutilized funds, okay, were with the state governments, and the Supreme Court said that there should be some compensatory afforestation fund formed at the center. तो ये सारा फंड वहां पर कलेक्ट होगा and then will be given to the states in order to implement this afforestation, right? So for this purpose we are talking about 2002 now. What the court has done, the court has set up an ad hoc national afforestation fund management and planning authority, that is known as national campa to manage this fund. Now are you getting this fund management, why it is afforestation fund management? तो प्रॉब्लम ये है कि it is not about money is not there. The problem is the money is not spent, or money is improperly spent, right? So we are getting money out of the law, the same law, that is Forest Conservation Act of 1980, but the problem is the states do not have the focused approach in spending this money for the intended purpose. Intended purpose क्या है? Afforestation is the intended purpose, right? So in 2009 the state also has set up state campus. Okay, so state compensatory afforestation management and planning authority that received 10% of the funds of national from the national campus, okay, national campa to use for afforestation. And in 2013 CAG report identified that the funds, in spite of this ad hoc, in spite of such bodies, also continue to be underutilized. Okay, 2013 में ये रिपोर्ट था कि it is still underutilized. अगर इस तरह के अथॉरिटी बनाने के बाद बावजूद, right, in spite of having this ad hoc national campa and state campas, the funds were underutilized, not properly utilized, and that is why there was a need for permanent institutional mechanism for the proper utilization of the fund. Okay, proper utilization of the fund, and that is by the law, by passing what? Legislation. Okay, by passing a legislation, that is there is a need to enact a law by a parliament to set up this financial uh, mechanism. Okay, yes, have you understood this thing? इसमें कुछ डाउट है तो पूछ लीजिए. या परविंदर, अब क्या कर सकते हैं? वी हैव दिस लॉस. Now I told you in previous classes also the problem with the forest in India, agar 24 we are happy with 24% of the forest cover, I must say you that how much is the real forest, right? I told you in the previous class कि अगर 24 आपको दिख रहा है, ये दिखाने के लिए है 24%, क्योंकि इसमें right 24% is the total forest, okay, total forest, and how much actually is the forest, original forest in this 8 से 9%, okay. ये बाकी का कहाँ से आया, बाकी का 15% कहाँ से है? 15% is we have increased this by the recorded forest area by considering all reforestation, even agriculture जो plantation है, okay, plantation है, that also getting added to the total forest cover. So the situation is really pathetic here, ठीक है. So you have to remember 1980 और उसके बाद provision of the act of 1980, 2002 Supreme Court judgment, okay, judgment of the Supreme Court, and then setting up of ad hoc national campa, and then after that the state campus, okay, then CAG report which says that in spite of all these institutions, the fund remain continue to be underutilized, and therefore there is a need for legislative framework, an act to be passed by the parliament, ठीक है. जब आप आंसर में लिखेंगे मेंस में, दिस थिंग्स शुड बी कमिंग इन क्रोनोलॉजी, ये दिस शुड बी अ पार्ट ऑफ योर आंसर आल्सो, एक लॉजिकल फ्लो में इसको लिखना है, ठीक है. यस, एनी डाउट्स हियर? पनिशमेंट नहीं है because you don't get a permission, okay, there is no punishment here, you don't get a permission to go ahead with the project unless you pay in this CAF compensatory fund, afforestation fund में जब तक आप पे नहीं करेंगे you don't get a environmental clearance there, ठीक है. Now so let us look at what are the silent features of this campa. See, act के silent features क्या है? Legislation, it establishes national afforestation fund, compensatory afforestation fund under public accounts of India, and a state fund under each state, okay. तो इसमें क्या है? Delegation है, okay, delegation है. तो सेंट्रल लेवल पे क्या होगा? सेंट्रल लेवल यू हैव नेशनल CAF, okay, CAF होगा, और स्टेट के लिए यू हैव स्टेट CAF, okay, compensatory afforestation fund, right. The payment into the funds include compensatory afforestation, net present value NPV, and any project specific payment, okay. Now what is the net present value? ये याद रख लो, net present value, net present value क्या है? It is the value of the forest land, value of the forest land which can be decided by the state, okay. Value of the forest मतलब मान लो it is a state of Madhya Pradesh, okay, Madhya Pradesh, and here it is a dense forest of Satpuras, okay. Now state has decided that 1 acre of land, 1 acre of land in this forest constitutes, let us say, 10 lakh rupees. तो कोई अगर इसमें 3 एकड़ लैंड के लिए you require 3 acres of land, so how much money he has to pay? This is known as NPV. ये 10 lakh क्या होगा? Net present value of the forest, and you have to pay 30 lakh rupees to this compensatory fund, ठीक है. और plus the government can charge you some more additional amount also depending on what type of project you are undertaking, ठीक. So any specific payment. So Now this can be taken up by the funds or compensation to the center and compensation to the state. लेकिन जो भी funding center में होगा, okay, the national fund will get 10% of the funds collected, and remaining 90% will be going to the respective state. Okay, so let us say somebody is paying 1 lakh rupees, okay, 1 lakh rupees to as a compensation. So iska 10,000 will go to central CAF, and remaining 90,000 will be going to the states. ठीक है, so this will be division. So 10 is to 90, ये याद रख लो. How is the funds in afforestation shared between the center and the state? Okay, that will be 10% is to 90%. ठीक है, 10% retained by the center national fund, and 90% will be going to the state governments, right? And where these funds will be utilized, the funds, the collected funds will be utilized for afforestation, generation of the forest ecosystem, wildlife protection, forest related infrastructure development. Okay, now see, this is very very important for you. ये आपको ऑब्जेक्टिव क्वेश्चन में आ सकता है. Okay, the afforestation fund is not meant for only plantation of the trees. Remember, it can be used for, apart from afforestation, it can be used for upgrading the forest. ठीक है, upgrading the forest. It can be used for protection of wildlife, that is biodiversity. It can be also used for forest related infrastructure development. Forest related infrastructure development means, let us say, uh, equipping the forest or forest authorities with greater, we can say, protection devices, and all these are considered as forest related infrastructure development. So you can have fencing, barricading, all these will be coming under infrastructure. ठीक है, right? We'll discuss, Parvinder, just a minute. तो uh, are you clear with this point? जो first point है here, first paragraph, that is clear. यहाँ से एक क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. ओके, तो इसको फोकस करिए. दैट द नेट प्रेजेंट वैल्यू जो भी कंपनसेशन अमाउंट होगा, दैट इज नॉट ओनली यूटिलाइज्ड फॉर एफॉरेस्टेशन, it is utilized for other purposes also. The act or the bill, act or bill, now it is an act, is seeks to establish national and state compensatory afforestation. So it will establish national campa, afforestation fund management authority, and state campa. Okay, campa, or you can say national compensatory afforestation fund and state compensatory afforestation fund. तो दो लेवल बन गया इसमें, right? Now who is going to determine that ये forest का value इतना होगा? Okay, right, who is going to determine this? Okay, that the forest in this area of India will be 10 lakh rupees per acre. In case of Western Ghat, it will be 20 lakh rupees per acre. In case of let us say Odisha, it will be 15 lakh. Just I am giving example. ये जो net present value है, this will be decided by the expert committee that is constituted by the central government. Okay, expert committee constituted by the central government. Remember, this point is also very very important, right? The net present value, जो compensation amount होगा, that is delegated to the expert committee constituted by the central government, not the state, right? So further, you just remember these things. So funds utilized for artificial regeneration of the forest, assisted natural regeneration, protection of the forest, forest related infrastructure. It will be utilized in, remember, Green India program. Okay, remember, this is very very important. the funds will be utilized in Green India program. Now Green India program is related to National Action Plan on Climate Change, okay, wildlife protection and other related activities, and the for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. So अब matters connected मतलब इसमें इसका scope क्या है, बढ़ जाएगा. This is having a wider scope. So the utilization of the fund is not restricted. Are you getting this? The state may decide that the funds can be further used for multiple activities. This may include even the rehabilitation of the tribes also. In cases there is a displacement of the tribe, this because of such activity, so iska compensation also can be done, okay, can be done by these funds, right? So here we got one more point which is important for us in prelims exam, that is funding of Green India program, right? So this we have, what is proposed is to use money for this and to use building infrastructure etc, we have discussed. And National Highway Authority of India has suggested that the campa fund to be used for mitigating wildlife death on the road through creation of underpasses and bypasses, okay. जैसे many times we have come across the news that certain animals die because they are hit by, okay, they are hit by the vehicles, okay. So if there is a national highway passing through any wildlife area or wildlife zone, and the vehicles moving through this national highway and the animals crossing like this, they may die because of accidents, okay. And in such cases what they have to do, we have to construct some bridge here, okay, bridge बनाएंगे या इस तरह से bypass, okay, bypass for animals etc can be done. That is a suggestion. So now what is the issue, what are the issues with this campa? First thing is, we do not have land available for planting new forest. That is a problem, okay. Availability of land is less, ठीक है. Then complex forest ecosystem cannot be recreated easily. Yes, what you were saying, what Parvinder was saying, and Siddharth and some of you said, that is correct, है ना. Complex forest ecosystem you cannot create very easily. Ecological restoration is very difficult and takes time. You can plant the trees, but how you will bring that animal community and linkages between different species, that obviously is taking time. Campa funds can be used for purchasing the forest department vehicles or repairing the buildings also, okay. So ये भी हो सकता है. अब इसमें there is wide scope, तो ऐसा हो सकता है कि this fund is used for some activities which are not thoroughly related to anything of forest, है ना. So you say forest infrastructure में आपने scope दे दिया. Now forest infrastructure may be also a building that is used for this forest ranger who is staying there, he can renovate this building because of this, just to understand, ठीक है, इस तरह से. Then uh, afforestation can has been undertaken on the flanks of railway lines, highways, raising uh, and raising trees with poor survival rates can certainly not be creating a diverse forest. So इसमें what we are saying is, the afforestation can be only successful if you have a continuous monitoring of this, okay, monitoring of this. You cannot just plant the trees and leave. तो ट्री प्लांट करेंगे तो उसको फिर से उसका देखभाल करना पड़ेगा. You have to look after that, and we have to see that they are retained and they continue to grow. But in India it is not in this way, ठीक है. So now what we got here is, yeah, important was central CAF and state CAF. So there is a central compensatory afforestation fund and state compensatory afforestation fund, ठीक है. Now understand who is going to implement implementation of this will be by who is going to implement this? Obviously this will be implemented by the state. Okay, implemented by the state government, right? So if it is implemented by the state, the more responsibility or more financial diversion has to be done to the state government, right? Implementation is to be done by the state, so more responsibility has to be done. Financial stake also will be of the state. Okay, but in which case you can find that the this net जो compensation होगा that goes to the center, maybe the project is of the central government. Okay, project is of the central government, or any forest which is coming between the two states. Okay, इस तरह से होगा. In such cases this compensation has to be paid to the central. Okay, yeah, you can say that there is only one route. If you want to simplify it, there is one route that you have to first pay to the center. Okay, pay to the center, and you are paying, let us say, 10 lakh rupees to the center. Okay, तो इसमें से क्या करेगा, the center is going to give to the state 90% of this, 90% to the state, so that the state can take up this activity of afforestation. Are you getting? So the state compensatory afforestation funds, they are not going to get directly, they are not going to get directly in most of these cases. Okay, so most of this compensation will be given to the central fund. Okay, central fund को जाएगा, and center से 90% will come to the state, right? So this is how. In case of union territories also, in case of union territories, it is like 100% belonging to the union territories. So their center is not keeping much, क्योंकि union territory is directly under the center itself, right? Yes, is this concept clear? uh, you can reply like, if it is you are following, I should also sometimes you people keep on replying, and some are unnecessary things. Okay, but this is, you reply related to subject, so that I can also get a feel that what really you are understanding out of these topics. Okay, so this is about campa. Now if you get a question in mains also, you should be able to, you should be able to put it in a proper format. Now next, second segment, what we have to discuss here is National Forest Policy 1988. What is the basic objective of this National Forest Policy? It said maintenance of environmental stability through preservation of forest. Okay, this is the first objective. ठीक है? Then conserving the natural heritage of the country by preserving the remaining natural forest in the and the with the vast variety, that is flora. So anyway, we have come to the last leg of this class, and there is a power cut here. So what we'll do is forest. I suppose that today I was expecting to complete this three, but we are able to do only one. So forest Protection Act 1988, and forest policy. Okay, forest policy and of 2018 and 1988. This we will be doing in tomorrow's class. Okay.